"Just clean the floors," they said. Until the custodian played the piano, the grand ship Ethelston was a marvel of human engineering, a spear of polished alloy and humming energy piercing the silent dark between stars. To its crew, it was a bastion of human achievement. To the man known as janitor, it was a labyrinth of floors that needed mopping. He was a fixture, as much a part of the ship as the conduits behind the walls. Small, gray-haired, his face a roadmap of quiet years, he moved through the corridors with a silent electric cart and a well-worn mop. The crew, officers and scientists of great renown, passed him without seeing. Their conversations of diplomacy, xenobiology, and warp harmonics flowed over and around him like water over a stone. His instructions, given years ago, were simple. Just clean the floors. He did. His latest posting was the observation lounge, a vast chamber with a transparent dome looking out onto the swirling nebula the ship was studying. The room was empty, the crew engaged in more pressing duties. In the center of the lounge, neglected and quiet, stood an old real wood piano. It was a relic, brought for morale, but no one had time for it. Janitor parked his cart. He ran a dust cloth over its closed lid, his touch lingering on the polished grain. His hands, gnarled and calloused from a lifetime of labor, gently lifted the fallboard. The ivory keys, pristine and unused, stared back. He did not sit. He simply stood, and with one finger pressed a single middle C. The note hung in the air, pure and resonant, a vibration that seemed to cleanse the sterile silence. A memory, not his own but deep in his bones, stirred. He played a simple scale. Then another dot in the ship's bridge. The first officer frowned at a tertiary sensor readout. Unidentified acoustic resonance in the observation lounge. Non-threatening, probably a faulty panel harmonic. The captain, a severe woman with eyes perpetually scanning tactical displays, nodded. Log it. Continue nebula analysis. But the resonance did not stop. It evolved. Janitor's fingers, as if remembering a life long buried, found a chord. Then a progression. A melody, old and haunting, began to weave itself from the piano. It was a song of earth, of deep forests and wide, empty skies, things the shipborne crew knew only from archives. The music was slow, filled with a yearning that the synthetic compositions played in the crew mess never possessed. It filled the empty lounge, seeping into the very bulkheads. A junior xenobotanist, passing the lounge door on her way to the lab, stopped. She leaned against the doorway, unseen, her datapad forgotten. She had never heard such a sound. It made her think of the seedling she was trying to grow under artificial light, a lonely struggle for a touch of green. A feeling, sharp and sudden, rose in her throat. She did not enter. She simply listened, then walked away, her steps softer. The next day, janitor returned. He cleaned around the piano with meticulous care. As he buffed the floor, his cart's soft whir the only sound. He saw the botanist had left a small, potted fern on a nearby table. He gave it a drop of water from his bottle. That evening, he played again. This time, it was something brighter, a playful dance of notes that spun like falling leaves. The ship's gruff chief engineer, a man who spoke in grunts and torque specifications, was conducting a routine integrity scan in the corridor outside. The scan could wait. He stood in the shadow of the doorway, a wrench hanging loose in his hand. The tune reminded him of a pub song his grandfather would sing, back on Mars. A smile, unused and cracking, touched his lips. He left before the song ended, but his report that night was uncharacteristically brief. The music became a ritual. Every evening, after his duties were done, janitor would play. He never played the same thing twice. There were stirring marshes, tender lullabies, complex fugues that spoke of mathematical beauty, and simple folk tunes that spoke of home. The unseen audience grew. The security officer on patrol would take the long route. The navigator would find her charts, could wait. They stood in the dark hallways, leaned against the walls, hidden from the man at the piano. They did not speak of it to each other. It was a secret, fragile peace. The captain, however, had no patience for mysteries. The anomalous acoustic signatures were a persistent, low-priority alert. During a lull in operations, she decided to investigate personally. She strode into the observation lounge, just as janitor's hands descended upon the keys for a piece of powerful, profound sorrow. It was a dirge for a lost world. The captain froze. The sound did not compute. It was not music for morale. It was a raw, emotional signal she could not decrypt. She watched the custodian, the ignored man, transformed. His slight frame was straight, his eyes closed, his face alive with a depth of feeling she had never witnessed in any tactical briefing. This was not a man just cleaning floors. This was a man broadcasting a soul. Janitor, her voice cut through the music, sharp as a blade. The music stopped. His shoulders slumped, the transformation complete. He was just the custodian again. Captain, I was just finishing the polishing. What is the meaning of this? She demanded, gesturing to the piano. Your duty is maintenance, not this. The instrument was dusty, Captain, he said, his voice soft. The keys require a touch to keep the mechanisms aligned. It is a form of upkeep. She stared at him, then at the piano. The excuse was flimsy, but technically sound. Yet the air still thrummed with the ghost of the music. Your upkeep is causing anomalous readings. Keep it down. She turned and left, the echo of the dirge clinging to her dot. The order spread. The secret was out. The crew now knew the source, but a strange embargo fell. No one spoke of it openly, but the unspoken rule was broken. People began to linger openly. A young comms officer asked, haltingly, if Janitor knew a certain melody from the Europa colonies. He played it. The officer wept, then thanked him. This was too much for the captain. On the day, the Ethelston was to make first contact with the Tellurians, a reclusive, aesthetically sensitive species. She summoned Janitor to the bridge. The crew watched, tense, as the small man in gray overalls stood before the command chair. The Tellurians value art above all else, the captain said, her voice cold. Our diplomats will handle the exchange. You will remain in the maintenance bay. The observation lounge is off limits. Is that clear? Yes, Captain, Janitor said. The encounter began. The Tellurian vessel, an organic-looking construct of crystal and light, docked. Their emissaries, tall and graceful with shimmering skin, were led to the observation lounge. The human diplomats presented their gifts: complex digital symphonies, holographic sculptures, poetic algorithms. The Tellurians observed them with polite, impassive faces. Their lead emissary finally spoke, their voice a melodic chime. These are proficient. They are perfect. They contain no error. They therefore contain no life. They are echoes of echoes. Where is your living art? An awkward silence fell. The diplomats stammered about further archives. The captain felt a cold dread. The mission was failing. From the back of the crowd, the chief engineer muttered, "Oh, for crying out loud." He turned and left the lounge dot. He went straight to the maintenance bay. Janitor was quietly cleaning a filter assembly. "Janitor, we need you." "I have my orders, Chief." "The orders are stupid. Our guests need to hear something that isn't a perfect little algorithm. They need to hear that. What you play." Janitor looked at his hands, then at the chief's earnest, frustrated face. He put down his cloth. "The floors here are clean." He walked to the observation lounge, the chief a step behind. The crowd of humans and Tellurians parted. The captain's face was stone, but a warning died on her lips as she saw the Tellurian's eyes fix on the old man. They saw his worn hands, his humble clothes, the quiet dignity in his step. He did not look at the captain. He did not look at the diplomats. He simply walked to the piano, sat for the first time, and paused. He thought of the ship, his home. He thought of the crew with their hidden hopes and quiet loneliness. He thought of the vast, beautiful nebula outside the dome, a creation of cosmic chaos and splendor. He placed his hands on the keys. What came out was not a single piece, but a story. It began with the deep, thrumming note of the engines, a foundation of power and purpose. It spiraled into the loneliness of the void, a high, delicate treble that ached. Then came the voices of the crew, not literal, but felt, a bouncing rhythm for the botanist's plants, a sturdy, repeating motif for the engineer's machines, a complex, interweaving pattern for the navigator's stars. It built, layer upon layer, into a tapestry of shared journey. It was flawed. A missed note here, a hesitation there. It was alive. When he finished, the silence was absolute. The Tellurian lead emissary stepped forward, their shimmering form vibrating with visible emotion. They looked at Janitor, then at the stunned captain. "You," the emissary chimed, their voice thick with awe. "You keep your greatest artist hidden in silence? This one who translates the song of your metal world and the hearts within it? This is the art we sought. This is truth." The emissary bowed, not to the captain, but to the man at the piano. "We will speak with him." The captain could only watch as the custodian, the janitor, nodded gently to the alien being. He was not a diplomat. He was not a scientist. But he had cleaned their floors, and in the quiet, he had listened to the soul of the ship. And now he had played it back. As the Tellurians gathered around the piano, asking about the song of the engines, the melody.